Hello and welcome to this very special episode of the Unsolicited Film Reviews podcast. Welcome, friends. Yes, it's the Oscars once again. 2025. Boy, what a thrill. The passion, the glamour, the glitz, the pageantry. All the stars are out tonight, and I'm here with my host, Martin Cooke. I'm Zach Miller, and we are going to be covering the Oscars tonight, coming from the Dolby Theater on March 2nd, Sunday, hosted by Conan O'Brien.
Welcome, everybody. It's such a grand occasion. Nice to be here. We're all dressed up. I'm giving, Oscars after party here. We've got the bow ties off, the shirts untucked. I've got the drink in my hand. We're all ready to go.
The champagne is flowing and the charcuterie is out.
Exactly.
So tonight we are going to be covering all the major categories. We're going to be giving you our predictions of who will win, but also who we think should win. They don't usually line up that well. Sometimes they do, especially this year. We aren't going to get too in depth in the movies themselves. Some we will, but if you want that, go back and listen to our power rankings of the Best Picture podcast, where we go super in depth to all 10 movies that are nominated for Best Picture this year. Some that are not, we'll give a little love to this time around. But as usual, there are 23 categories. Gonna come out and tell you right now that we haven't watched the animated shorts, live action shorts, or documentary shorts. And that's not for lack of trying, but in the interest of full disclosure, we like to be honest here. We're recording this on Thursday, February 13th, which is about 3 weeks away from the ceremony. So we just haven't been able to watch them. So
Yeah, that's my fault because I'm going to be taking off in a bit, so we won't have a chance to record. And yes, it's unfortunately not till next week that the theater near me is playing the shorts and the all the nominated shorts. So yeah, sadly, that won't make it into this category, into this podcast.
right. So like I said, we're just gonna breeze through the categories that we haven't had a chance to delve into that much. But we should let you know that the heavy favorites, according to both Hollywood Reporter and Variety, for documentary short, the favorite is I Am Ready Warden. The favorite for live action short is Anuja or Anuha. I don't know what language it's in. So, animated short, Wander to Wonder. And with that, let's get into the categories where can actually have an opinion.
All right, yeah, we did a secret incursion into the offices of PricewaterhouseCoopers. So we'll tell you what will win, and also our very unbiased and correct opinions of what will win or what should win.
100%.
Yeah.
And unlike a lot of, publications slash podcasts, we didn't pretend like we watched all of these films. So,
Although actually, aside from those shorts, which we're not going to talk about, I pretty much got everything.
yeah,
One, maybe two, one of the international features and one of the animated features. Everything else, I did very well this year.
as did I. So, but we're not going to act like, oh, yes, Anuha, what a brilliant live action short that was. Yes, a very transcendent piece.
It made me cry. Yeah, honestly heartbreaking. Oh, it's a comedy. Oh, sorry.
It made me cry with laughter.
Yes.
So we're gonna start off with visual effects, and we're gonna wind up with Best Picture. We're gonna do some tantric podcasting here. Leave the best for last. So visual effects. The nominees are Alien: Romulus, Better Man, Dune Part Two, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked. Martin, thoughts?
All right. Well, I think Dune Part Two will win. And I also think Dune Part Two should win. I think I mentioned this a little bit in our podcast when we were talking about the Best Picture nominees. The way that Dune does special effects, where they don't seem like they're special effects, where they actually just seem like this is how things are in that world and that universe, yeah, I think is really incredible. I will give a small shout out to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, just because the main characters for most of that movie are actually the apes, and it still works. Like it's the capture, the motion capture stuff that they do for these characters has reached such an incredible level that they can be main characters in movies and you feel for them just as much as real characters. So I'll give a short shout out to that because that stuff was incredible. But I think Dune both will and should win.
Yeah, I agree in both respects. And visual effects, I was kind of confused by Better Man because wasn't that makeup and prosthetics for Sebastian Stan?
No, you're thinking of A Better Man rather than Better Man, which I think is the what is his name? The singer, rock DJ.
Robbie Williams. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Robbie Williams. I think it's the Robbie Williams one where
Yes.
basically it's his story, but for some reason he's an ape. Again, more apes.
Yeah. Okay, that threw me off. Yep. So, yes, Dune Part 2 should and will win probably. So, next category is sound. We have A Complete Unknown, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot.
All right, on this one, I think Wicked will win just because it's been nominated for a bunch of things. And I think sometimes Academy voters get lazy. And, this is a musical. There's lots of music and sound and whatever. And I think people just go, oh, yeah, yeah, Wicked's probably good for that one. Once again, though, I think this is one that Dune should win.
Mm. I Once again, we're in lockstep here. I think Wicked will win, but Dune Part 2 should win. Then we have production design. The nominees are The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked.
All right. I think this is another one that Wicked is going to take. I think Wicked will win. I don't think Wicked's going to take Best Picture. I don't think it's going to take many of the ones at the top, but I think it will because it's a love movie. It had a lot of nominations. I think it will take a bunch of these below the line ones. And this seems to be a one that it could take. Although I think Nosferatu should win. I think the production design in Nosferatu, and I'm going to have it winning a couple of these. That was to me just the best part about Nosferatu. I just loved all that and thought it was really just really well done. Really set the tone for the whole movie.
Yeah, I definitely agree with your points. I agree that Wicked probably will win, but I'm actually going to go with I think Conclave should win.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And
That's also a very good choice.
yeah, it was a very tough tug of war between that and Nosferatu, and I did love Nosferatu, but we addressed this in our last podcast, and building an entire Vatican set is really tough work, and we addressed this at length, and the production design was amazing in Conclave.
It was incredible. Yeah, you think you're in the Sistine Chapel, and really it's just a soundstage. Incredible stuff.
You want to reel off these next couple?
Sure. So the next one up, then we've got makeup and hairstyling, and here we have a different man.
That's
That's
where I
the
got confused.
Sebastian Stan
Yep,
one.
yep.
Sorry. Yeah, that's a different man. Amelia Perez, Nosferatu, The Substance, and Wicked.
Yeah, so I think Wicked will win this one. I think the Academy has a soft spot in their heart, and I definitely agree with you that it's not going to win the above the line Oscars, but I think the Substance should win.
Interesting. Okay, here we've got some disagreement. I think The Substance will win.
Okay.
I think this is one of the easiest wins for The Substance in terms of, it got nominations. It's one of the movies that people are talking about. It's very obvious makeup work with all the body horror stuff at the end. I actually think again Nosferatu should win, just because I thought it was very. I mean, it wasn't subtle work in Nosferatu, but I thought it was just really well done. And normally I'm not a big horror guy, but I thought you really just got the sense of this kind of rotting Dracula, but that is still somehow to the people in the film somehow still alluring in kind of a magical way. I just thought it should win.
Yeah, we've discussed Nosferatu a little bit, but since it was not nominated for Best Picture, I'm not a huge horror fan either, but I think Robert Eggers has managed to transcend the genre. And
Absolutely. Yeah, between this and The Witch. Yeah.
yeah, and even I don't know what you would call The Lighthouse, because I don't know if it's straight ahead horror, but
Yeah.
I don't know what genre you put that in, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that one is.
Anyway, that was from a couple years ago, so
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
we're a little off track. All right, let's see. Let's keep going. Then film editing. We have Anora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez, and Wicked.
yeah, I'm gonna go Nora on both counts. Could and should, will and should win.
Okay, wow, we're way off on this one. I'm gonna go with The Brutalist will win because I think The Brutalist is going to win a bunch of movies, and I think people will appreciate the way some of the scenes were cut. I think this is one I'll give it to Conclave, just because despite the fact that I had some questions about the story of the Conclave and some of the twists and turns, I thought it was a very well made movie and well crafted movie. And I think a lot of that came down to the film editing and how they cut between the characters and involved the production design that you already talked about.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad in either case. So, costume design, we have a complete unknown, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked.
All right, here I'm going to do the exact same thing again. I think Wicked will win, and but I would like to see Nosferatu win.
Yeah, I completely agree on that one. Yeah, not because it wasn't just the Dracula character. Or I guess you can't call him Dracula because he's the Nosferatu, but I just thought the Victorian era English costumes. Well, like I feel like anytime somebody does a Victorian era costume, it automatically gets nominated, and it's just been so overdone. But that in conjunction with the stylistic choices and the vampire itself were all just completely amazing.
For me, it goes even beyond that. Wicked, sure, the costumes were great, and they're fun. They're all fictional. They're all kind of imaginary. The attention to historical detail that Robert Eggers is famous for, and that he really worked on in terms of even like the outfits that the Nosferatu character would have been wearing, judged upon the region of Romania that he would have been coming from at that time in the late 1700s or whatever it was. So I guess a little bit before or whenever this is, maybe it's before Victorian. And I just thought it was all really good, and that should win.
Yeah, and another quick point that I just occurred to me, even the townsfolk, the Romani gypsies and stuff like that were all just completely period accurate. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think Wicked's gonna take that one. Um
All right. So now we're starting to get into a few of the bigger ones. Let's go with cinematography. We've got The Brutalist, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, again, fuck sakes, Maria, which, full disclosure, is one of the ones I haven't seen, and Nosferatu.
yeah, I haven't seen Maria either. Don't know what it is, don't know what it's about. So with this one, I think the Brutalist will win, but Nosferatu should win.
Okay, I think The Brutalist will win. I think Dune Part 2 should win.
Okay.
I just, the cinematography in Dune Part 2, again, can't really separate it from the first Dune because it's all very much similar, but it just blew me away. All right.
Um uh Dune Part 2, that wasn't a Roger Deakins joint, was it?
That is a very good question. He's worked with Denis Villeneuve quite a bit in the past. It was, huh. Yeah, we've just got the titles of the movies and not actually the names of the cinematographer. It I will check as we talk about. Why don't you introduce the next category and I'll find out.
Okie dokie. Original song. This is always such a catch as catch can category because they always throw some random shit in here. And two of Amelia Perez's 13 nominations. Okay, 13 nominations for Amelia Perez, ladies and gentlemen. They're in this category. We have El Mal by Emilia Perez. And does you're the Spanish expert. Doesn't that just mean the bad?
more or less.
Then we have The Journey in the 6888, which I haven't seen. Like a Bird from Sing Sing, which we've both seen. Mi Camino from Amelia Perez again. And Never Too Late by
That's the
the
Selena Gomez one, Mi Camino.
mm, and Never Too Late from Elton John. Never Too Late.
All right. I think sadly this is one that they're going to give to Amelia Perez, and I think it'll probably be El Mal. That seems to be the betting favorite. That seems to be the one that people are talking about. Again, I didn't think the music in this movie was very good. I actually don't think any of those songs are super strong, but I did listen to them all a couple of times just to get a sense of them. And my favorite was Like a Bird from Sing
Mm.
Sing. So I think Like a Bird should win.
Yeah, I agree. I actually went with El Mal for the one that's going to win,
Yeah,
but
same,
I
same. That's yeah.
oh I thought you said you said you liked Mi Camino better, right?
No. I didn't like it. All I
No, I
said
mean
Camino was the Selena Gomez song that she El Mal was the one that Zoe Saldana. Well, she sang a few of them, but Zoe Saldana sang El Mal or sang sort of spoke said, and Mi Camino was sung by Selena Gomez.
right. So yeah, I think either way, Amelia Perez is going to take this one. As we said in the last podcast, um, the controversy surrounding this film may wind up doing the Oscars as a whole a favor this year
Yeah,
because 13 nominations for this film is just atrocious. I think it's just Hollywood just bending over backwards to cater to the trans agenda. But again, as we also said, it
it's a
doesn't. It
terrible trans movie.
yeah, it doesn't. If anything, it sets the trans movement back.
Yeah, yeah, it's terrible representation for them, and which a bunch of advocacy groups in the trans community have mentioned. So, yeah, it's a movie for nobody as far as I'm concerned, except apparently the hundreds of people who must have nominated it for these categories.
But I don't think they want to punish like the entire crew because I mean you get 13 nominations and you come out with nothing that's going to look pretty weak for the voters as a whole. So
Yeah, and a lot of the other people like Zoe Saldana is very well respected and liked in Hollywood. Selena Gomez, a lot of people seem to like her. So yeah, you're right. I don't think they'll necessarily punish them, and so this is a category where it seems pretty clear that Amelia Perez could pick up a win.
and in the other music category, we of course have
But
original score.
you didn't give your what you think should win.
Oh, Like a Bird
Oh, okay, okay,
by
yeah,
from Sing
yeah,
Sing. Yeah.
okay.
And then of course we have original score. We have The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot.
I think this is one where I think it's what will win and what should win is the same, and for me, that's The Brutalist. Although I will say that I also really did like the music in Conclave. You mentioned that when we did our power rankings of the Best Picture nominees, and I agree that I really liked the score for that one. But the Brutalist score was, I thought, very unique and also added a lot to some of those scenes, which at times could be very ponderous and long. And the score kind of really amped up and added to the atmosphere and the tone that each scene was trying to give us.
Yeah, and sorry to keep referencing our last podcast, but you should really go back and listen or watch.
We,
But
we're just trying to get more listens and watches for that and views watches. Uh,
the Brutalist actually had a overture at the beginning, which, very ambitious. It tells you that this movie is going to be very long, but also it's like, okay, hearing the score before the film actually starts is actually a benefit in a lot of films. Like I remember, like Lawrence of Arabia comes to mind first and foremost. But
I
yeah,
was just thinking Lawrence of Arabia because the last movie that I'd seen in theater with an intermission before before The Brutalist, they did a 70 millimeter screening of of Arabia at the TIFF Theater near me, and I went to it last year and loved the intermission and the opening with the overture and all that. And so when this came up for The Brutalist, I, like you, was very excited about it.
uh, that's okay. So yeah, I think the Brutalist will and should win. I don't know. Did Amelia Perez even have a score? I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
it's not it's not worth going back to watch
No,
it.
no, it really isn't.
This is
And
that with
and
oh sorry.
Wicked, I guess also Wicked had a score for sure. Wicked is very interesting. We forgot to mention this in the original song category, that you would think that a movie like Wicked would have had a bunch of songs in that category. But because they didn't make any new songs for the first part of Wicked, it was all stuff that had previously been in the Broadway stage musical. None of it counted. None of it met the criteria to be an original song for the movie. And so that's why, Defying Gravity, none of those kinds of things were actually nominated because they couldn't be. Now, apparently, they've said that for the next one, the sequel, the second part of Wicked, they are going to actually add a few new songs. So we'll see next time around whether Wicked Part 2 get some Oscar nominations for Best Original Song. But if anybody is wondering and thinks that it's a bit strange that Wicked didn't get it, that's the reason why.
Yeah, that's kind of a flaw in the category because
It is. It's also a bad decision by the filmmakers. Like the movie, as you said, was like 2.5 hours long. They could have snuck in an original song somewhere in there and probably known that they would have gotten a nomination. And so I'm not quite sure why they didn't, why they decided not to do that.
yeah, it really should just be best song though. I mean, especially if it's a musical like Steven Spielberg's West Side Story ran into the same obstacle a couple years ago.
Yeah, but then you have every Vietnam movie, getting Fortunate Son nominated 16 times in a row. Right? So I can understand why it has to be an original song.
Very fair point. Yes. You cannot have a movie in Vietnam without CCR. But actually, Hans Zimmer ran into a similar problem with original score this year because he already won for Dune Part 1 and he was
Right.
declared ineligible for best score this year because there was so much carryover.
Yeah, it wasn't distinctive enough. And I actually kind of agree with that. That was one of my few complaints about Dune was that I really think Hans should have added a bunch of new themes, and he kind of just rehashed the stuff from Dune Part 1, but whatever. That's a
Yeah,
minor pick.
we'll give him a pass.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer. Here's me telling Hans Zimmer how to do his job. You got a real future, Hans. All right.
So,
Next up, then, we are moving out of the original scores and into. Oh, well, yeah. So we went over the shorts. We didn't talk about documentary feature, although this is one where I have to admit I haven't actually seen any of the documentaries. There was a couple that I almost got a chance to see and then couldn't at the last minute, and they left theater and whatnot. So I don't have much to say about this one. How about you? Except to say that No Other Land is the heavy betting favorite for this category.
yeah, it's the heavy betting favorite. It also happens to be the only one that I have seen, and
Okay.
I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I don't have anything else to compare it to in this particular category. But it was very well done, very compelling, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it stacks up against the rest of the field. And we will do a recap podcast eventually when this is all said and done after the March 2nd ceremony, so we can have a better insight into what deserved to win and what didn't. So,
Yeah, we can also check our scores on what we thought will win and who wins between me and you. All right, next up then, we have Best Animated Feature. And the nominees are, as Zach gets himself more champagne because he thinks he's going to win. And so the nominees are Flow, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail. That's one I haven't seen, I have to admit, and don't know anything about. Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, foul spelled Fowl, and The Wild Robot.
Okay, so I've seen 3 out of 5 of these. Uh, I was
Okay.
fortunate enough to see Flow just today. It just came out on HBO
Oh,
today, so
did it? Okay, I managed to catch it last week in theaters. So
I haven't seen Memoir of a Snail or Wallace and Gromit, but it seems like every Wallace and Gromit is kind of the same, and it always gets nominated. They're fine.
yeah, they're good. They're fun, but yeah, exactly. I think everybody kind of knows what they're going into at this point with the Wallace and Gromit film. What did you think of Flow? Flow kind of surprisingly got the Golden Globe in this category, and I think a lot of people weren't really expecting that. So it's kind of the new darling. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, okay. First of all, I liked Inside Out too, but I didn't think it held a candle to the first one.
Agreed.
Wild Robot was my front runner all year. I thought it was very well done. I think Flow is going to win and deserves to win because it did what Wild Robot tried to do, but failed in the sense that I thought that Wild Robot was going to have very minimal dialogue and it was going to be all visuals, especially from the impression I got from the first couple trailers. It was just like I think there were 3 words in the entire trailer and it was all just beautiful visuals, beautiful music, and Flow has no dialogue at all, and it still tells a beautiful story. And I really respect that, so I think it can and should win.
Okay, I think that I'm actually going to go the other way. I think the Wild Robot both will and should win. And look, I actually really liked Flow. Um, uh, I did think the story was a little confusing.
Hmm.
And I will say that because, okay, the core of the story, which was basically a story about friendship across different animal races, like, everybody loves those kind of YouTube videos where you got a cheetah and a dog and their friends and whatever. And it was kind of that kind of thing. Like it's all these different animals and everybody loves a capybara and they're all getting along by the end of the movie, even though they're kind of antagonists at the beginning. That kind of stuff. And just I guess the overall theme and story of friendships and finding common ground with people who are different than you are. That was all very nice. I thought the story, I wasn't quite sure exactly what was going on. Like it was sort of a Noah's Ark type thing. As you said, they didn't talk. So it wasn't like the Wild Robot where you have all these animals speaking and saying what they're talking about. But at the same time, they weren't entirely just animals either. Like they weren't anthropomorphic in terms of being able to speak, but like some of them knew how to sail a boat just randomly and things like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I didn't quite understand what was going on in some of those things. So to me, the story was just didn't quite make sense. But overall, I thought it was a very beautiful movie. I thought the Wild Robot, although not necessarily one of my favorite animated movies of the last like 10 years, I still thought it was very good and held together quite well.
Yeah. I think Flow, you didn't really need to know the rules of the universe because it's more just emotional. Like, it just hit like different. It just like plucked your heartstrings in different ways. While and Wild Robot did that too, but I thought it was just more like straightforward narrative where Flow took more risks, and I thought they paid off. So now we're on to international feature. Amelia Perez once again. Flow. Interesting that a animated movie snuck into this category. The Girl with the Needle, haven't seen that. I'm Still Here, and The Seed of the Sacred Fig, which I also have not seen.
Seed of the Sacred Fig is the only one I haven't seen. I did see The Girl with the Needle, which is a very depressing movie about a true story uh, set in. and now I can't even actually remember. I think it's a Scandinavian film of some sort, maybe Danish. Let's say Danish, from sort of the turn of the last century, and involves like infanticide and just like horrible stuff. But it's really well done, but it's very depressing. Anyway, for me, this, especially with all the controversy with Amelia Perez, I think I'm still here because it's the other one of the two that's nominated for Best Picture. I think it both will win, and for anybody who's listened to our power rankings, I think it absolutely should win.
Yeah, 100%. It would be a crime for Emilia Perez to take this category, honestly, because
It would be.
I'm Still Here is just such a superior film in every single respect.
Yeah,
Acting, directing, you name it, writing,
yeah, story. Yeah,
actually feeling feelings,
yes.
know,
Yeah, exactly.
not being laughably bad.
Yeah, the absence of any song where there's a lyric about turning its penis into a vagina.
Yes.
It's- all right,
Vagina to
next up
penis
then.
or penis to vagina. That's supposed to be a lyric.
What a bar!
It's
Come on.
wild, wild.
All right, so now let's get into the two categories that hold a soft spot in our heart, and those are the screenplay categories. Obviously, the most important part of every film, because without the screenplay, nothing happens. So let's just set that down as an absolute immutable fact. So, in adapted screenplay, we have A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing.
Yeah, so it's a pretty strong category with the exception of Amelia Paris. But, um, let's see. You know what? I don't think Nickel Boys is gonna win, but the screenplay was actually pretty good. We
I did
mo
actually read it, but I'm not sure how much of the filmmaking to blame on the screenplay. So, because I haven't actually read the screenplay.
we malign Nickel Boys a lot in the Power Rankings podcast, but the story itself is actually very powerful. It's a
It
story
is.
that it's a story that needed to be told, and it's just unfortunate that it was told in a strange filmmaking decision to have it all through POV. That said, I don't think it's going to win, but I think it needs to be said that it was a very good screenplay. Okay, so I think Conclave will and probably should win.
Okay, I think Conclave will win, but I think A Complete Unknown should win.
Oh, interesting.
So then we get into original screenplay, and the nominees are Anora, A Real Pain, The Brutalist, September 5, and The Substance.
Okay, so I know that September 5 you love, and I haven't had a chance to see it yet, and I still really want to. I just wanted to knock out the ones that were nominated more before I get a chance to see it, but it's top of my queue right now, and I think yeah, you've been touting it for quite a while, so I need to get on that.
Oh, I probably
That's
built it up way too much for you now, though, unfortunately.
I don't know, I don't know. We tend to be simpatico on most things, so I think it'll pay off. Okay, so I think the substance will win, but I think Honora should win.
Okay, okay, slight difference then. I think Anora actually will win.
Okay,
I think this is one where the Academy will recognize it. But yes, I will say that I think September 5 should win. And this is one where I actually have read the screenplays, like I've downloaded them, and I really like the September 5 screenplay as well as the movie. So those would be my choices there. You want to take the supporting categories?
absolutely. Yeah, we're getting down to the nitty gritty here.
Are
The,
indeed
the ones that everybody, all the laymen's that actually care about.
getting late into the evening. You know, people are getting tired.
Getting a little tipsy.
And that's more the Golden Globes, but I'm sure people have their flasks at the Oscars as well.
Oh yeah, you know that. Okay, so first up, actor in a supporting role. And personally, I think this is the strongest category overall.
This is an unbelievably difficult category to
Yeah,
choose.
very competitive. All five are extremely deserving.
Absolutely.
So we have Yura Borisov for Honora, Kieran Culkin in A Real Pain, Edward Norton for A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce for The Brutalist, and Jeremy Strong, The Apprentice.
So I think it seems like there's a groundswell, and it seems pretty clear that Kieran Culkin is going to win. There aren't that many front runners, I think, in this entire season for the Oscars. There aren't that many very clear front runners. I think Kieran Culkin is one of them. And while I think he was very good, I think in a way it was his character was also kind of just a nicer Roman Roy.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, this is really tough because as I love all these guys. I've loved Edward Norton, Guy Pearce, Ira Borisov. It was a very subtle, interesting performance. I got to give this to Jeremy Strong.
Mm,
I think he carried that movie. His, yeah, not to get a spoiler or anything, but the way he just dominates scenes at the beginning but then goes from teacher that becomes eclipsed by his student over the course of that movie. I think, and kind of his diminishment, not only because of his illness, but just in sinking in terms of influence and power, all that. Like I just thought Jeremy Strong played that incredibly well. So I'd give it to him.
yeah, again, a very, very tough category.
Mm-hmm.
And while Jeremy Strong's acting methods notoriously piss off a lot of his co-stars, most notably Brian Cox in Succession, and
Brian Cox is at this point. I think it's pretty clear he's just a curmudgeon about everything. So
yeah, but he does it with a Scottish accent, so it's a lot more distinguished. uh, yeah, Kieran Culkin, I agree. He's kind of a one-note actor. He does extremely well, but I haven't really seen him have any range as of
Hmm.
yet. So, but unfortunately, yeah. Actually, no. You know what? I think Ed Norton's going to take it,
Oh
and I
wow,
think, and I think he
I would
should,
love that actually. I would be very happy.
and I think he also deserves it. So, there's you said there was a groundswell with Kieran Culkin, and he did win the Golden Globe, which is always kind of important of things to come. But I don't know. He probably will win, but I just have this. This one's just like a gut instinct. I think Ed Norton's going to take it.
I was just checking to see. I can't remember if Edward Norton has ever won before. I don't think he ever has. Has he? I'm pretty sure he's never won an Oscar before. Um, and I'm not. Anyway, I should know
You
that.
know, I can picture him taking an award. You want to look that up while I reel off these supporting actresses?
Sure, sure. Yeah, let me look this up.
All right. So, actresses in a supporting role. We have Monica Barbaro, or yeah, Barbaro, A Complete Unknown. Ariana Grande for Wicked. Felicity Jones for The Brutalist. Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, and Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez.
Go ahead and you give your thoughts on
Yeah,
looking
gotcha.
up Edward Norton. So
So I think they're gonna throw a bone to Zoe Saldana here because everybody feels bad for her
yeah, I think so. I agree.
that Gascon has basically torpedoed this movie from her past racist tweets. Yeah, so I think Zoe Saldana is gonna take it, and I think Ariana deserves it just for throwing herself into that role and being this kind of prom queen princess like Disney hybrid kind of thing and she was hilarious as well. So I think she was the most entertaining part of the movie.
I did really like Ariana Grande in this. I agree she was by far the most entertaining part of the movie. I think you're also right that Zoe Saldana will win. Again, she's well liked in Hollywood. By the way, before I get to who I think should win, Edward Norton, this is his fourth nomination, but no, he has never won. So
Okay.
he was nominated also for Birdman, for American History X, and for Primal Fear. I almost forgot about him as a young kid playing in the uh, the sort of villain in Primal Fear. Oh,
Yeah.
spoiler alert for a movie from 1997. Um, anyway, Zoe Saldana probably will win. I would love to see Monica Barbaro win this. I
Okay.
thought she was electric as Joan Baez. I really liked her. Ariana Grande, yes, was great, but Monica Barbaro, I just thought enthused so much of the soul and life that was missing, as we've talked about, maybe deliberately so from the Bob Dylan character. She really kind of infused that in a lot of moments in this movie.
Yeah, just a side note, I thought Elle Fanning was had her best work in that as well. Like,
She was quite good. The supporting cast in this film was fantastic.
yeah.
All right, so those were the supporting ones. Well, I'll get into then the lead. So, actor in a leading role, we've got Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. We've got Timothy Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo in Sing Sing, Ray Fiennes in Conclave, and Sebastian Stan in The Apprentice.
Another fairly strong category,
It is.
not quite as strong as the supporting, but Adrian Brody won the Golden Globe for The Brutalist, but I think Chalamet is gonna sweep in and take it, and I also think that he should.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't have him in either. I think Adrian Brody is actually going to win it again. Chalamet is very good, and he's probably the biggest movie star in Hollywood right now. I mean, based upon his success the last like 4 or 5 years, it might be hard to argue that. I think a lot of people might believe though that he's still not quite ready yet.
Mm,
Um, and so, just Oscar voters vote in weird ways sometimes. So I think Adrian Brody will win it. I would actually give this to Ray Fiennes.
mm,
Like I've said that I was kind of disappointed with Conclave. I went in with super high expectations and didn't quite meet them. I thought he was by far the best thing about this movie, and I thought his performance, just the inner struggle with torment that his character was going through, I thought he just played that incredibly well.
yeah, all very valid points.
Then we get into, all right, only three more left. Here we go. And like six commercial breaks at this point in the actual telecast. We've got Best Actress in
Oh,
a
we got to bring in Conan O'Brien. Oh.
yeah, exactly. Few presenters. And now a long overdue tribute to Oscar presenters. Uh, all right. Actress in the leading role. The nominees are Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon, who we should note is not even bothering to show up for the thing now. I mean, not bothering, I shouldn't say. She's taken herself away, as she says, to not,
Damage
from herself.
control. Yeah.
Yes. Mikey Madison for Honora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here.
Yeah, with the exception of Gascon, I think this is another very strong category. Um, and I was really struggling on who I think should win. And it's between three, really, because Mikey Madsen, Demi Moore, and Fernanda Torres were all just really good, and all in different ways. That said, Demi Moore has the momentum, and she has kind of like the lifetime achievement thing going for her because she's an actress in her 60s and still you know out there doing her thing. So I think the Oscar voters love that kind of thing, and so I think Demi Moore is going to wind up winning it. As far as who deserves it, I think it's a toss up between Madison and Demi Moore with Torres just like a little bit under there, but hmm, yeah, I think Madison deserves it just on a pure performance standpoint. But Demi Moore, I'm not going to be mad if she wins.
I agree with you that Demi Moore probably will win this. And I think interestingly, I mean, there's always a narrative around some of these nominations.
Sure.
I wonder if Demi Moore being in this category and The Substance being a much more visible film and celebrated film took away a lot of the spotlight from Pamela Anderson, who had
Oh yeah.
initial buzz way back for a film called The Last Showgirl. But first of all, nobody saw The Last Showgirl. But also, it was kind of the same sort of narrative, right? Like it was these two aging actresses who have been struggling to portray themselves as real actresses and not just kind of pop princesses from the 80s and 90s. And so it's interesting that Pamela Anderson didn't even get a nomination. Maybe the Academy now regrets that with Carla Sofia Gascon's nomination. But in any case, Demi Moore now has this category all to herself. I think she will win. I agree that I think Mikey Madison should win. I think Mikey Madison's performance was the one that left me most astounded of all the female lead roles this year.
Yeah, especially since, in the last act, Demi Moore was just kind of like attached to a monster person. So
Yeah,
and Mikey Madsen gave a much more human, like raw, visceral performance, and especially if you compare to like the last act. And again, we spoke about this in our last podcast. Put that on repeat. Take a drink. Yeah, yeah, Mikey Madsen was just absolutely transcendent. Okay, so the penultimate category, director. We have Jacques Audiard.
ODR.
Oh yeah, you're up in Canada, so you got Jacques Audiard.
Oh, he's not French Canadian. God, he's just French. Let's make that very clear because I don't like the movie. Canada does not claim it him.
Not clear.
Not like Denis Villeneuve. I'll
No,
claim Denis
you
Villeneuve.
are familiar with that language, though. Was my point. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry to besmirch the nation of Canada.
We've
Yes.
been getting
So
way too much of that lately. All right, that's enough political comment. All right.
so Amelia Perez, Sean Baker for Nora, Brody Corbett for The Brutalist, Caroline Farragut, or is it Farragut or Farragut? For The Substance, and James Mangold, who we all know and love, complete
Yes.
unknown.
And actually, it's funny. I guess maybe owing to the fact that I am Canadian. The first like million times that I read the director of The Brutalist, I just assumed that it was Brody Corbet, which maybe it probably was originally. Uh,
Well, that's okay because I always thought his name was Dennis Villanueva.
yeah, which is Villanueva. Yeah, much more Spanish. All right. Uh, all right. So for this one, I think both who will and should win is the same, and that's Brady. No, it is Brady. It is Brady, isn't it? Yeah, it's Brady. It's Brady.
Yes, my bad.
Brady Corbett or Corbet. I think he will win. I think people are impressed with the scope and ambition of this movie and his direction. And I would totally agree with that take. I think he should win of these five. I thought it was a very ambitious and laudable undertaking as a
Yeah.
director.
Sincere apologies to Brady. My sheet has the A's and O's look very similar. Um, so yeah, I think that Sean Baker for Honora is actually going to take this,
Hmm.
and it was definitely a toss up between Brutalist and Honora for me, but I think Honora is just such a more personal story, and Brutalist is so emotionless that yeah, I think Sean Baker should and will, and to tell this story of a down on her luck prostitute that's just trying to scrape by, and the nature of relationships and everything. And I know that goes into storytelling and screenplay, and everything mixes and matches, and that's how you collaboratively tell a story. But I think The Brutalist, yeah, is probably a more impressive directorial effort in just that sense. But I think the voters are going to go with Honora.
I wouldn't hate that. I definitely wouldn't hate that. We talked a little bit about when we were talking in depth about Enora that he made some very good directorial choices in this movie. The choice to let a lot of those scenes breathe and just kind of play out. Part of that is how it was edited. Part of that is the screenplay, but a lot of that is the directing too. You can adjust how a scene feels in terms of its momentum and everything through where you're placing your actors and what you're following and where you're placing your camera. And I thought he made a lot of those choices in a very smart way. So I definitely wouldn't hate it if he won.
All right, the main event. You want to go ahead and take it?
Sure. So the big one here. All right. Best picture. The year of 2024, even though we are now for the 2025 Oscars. The nominees are in, I believe, alphabetical order:
Yes, sir.
Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. What
Right. So this is going to be a wild year, I think, and it's all
no
thanks
clear
to
front runner. It's very interesting.
yeah, and it is all thanks to
Carlos
uh,
Sofia Gascon.
Carlos Sofia Gascon's racism. Because I could easily see where Amelia Perez wound up winning 10 Oscars or some crazy number like that, and history would not look kindly upon that this particular ceremony if that were to happen. And that said, I do believe that little Honora is gonna win the day, and I think it should.
All right. I think, and I've got a good reason for it. I think A Complete Unknown is gonna snag an upset and
Huh.
win.
Huh.
And the reason why is that we have to keep in mind that this is ranked balloting for Best Picture and Best Picture only.
Oh,
It is
good point.
for
Good
any
point.
of the other categories, but I think A Complete Unknown is the kind of movie that will probably be top four on almost everybody's ballot, right? And I think a movie like The Brutalist could have people who love it and people who don't quite get it.
Sure.
Emilia Perez might still have some people who like it, and then a lot of people like us who think that it's absolute trash. Uh, um, even a movie like Anora, which we both think is great, it might not appeal to everyone. Maybe some of the older, stuffier voters. It's very almost European in its treatment of sex.
Okay.
Maybe that'll turn off some people, and kind of a story of about two young people. So you don't know if although Hollywood, the Academy has gotten younger and more diverse, there's still a lot of the old holdover people in the Academy. So I think A Complete Unknown might not be a lot of people's first choice, but might just squeak by with enough votes to get in there to win. So that's going to be my prediction in a year where there is no clear front runner and where it seems like it's kind of up in the air.
Mm.
And then one last pitch, if you've listened to our power rankings of the best pictures, I think I'm Still Here should win. I just thought that was a tremendous movie. It kind of came out of nowhere for me. It was the last one that I saw of all the Best Picture nominees. I didn't have any idea what to expect. And I wouldn't say it blew me away, but it just really sat with me and really had an impact.
Yeah, all very good points. And Yeah, like Conclave might get a few votes, but yeah, the rankings and the way they actually vote for this, yeah, you're spot on. And like A Complete Unknown was my number one on Best Picture power rankings, but that's just because I liked it the most. It was very subjective, as all art is, obviously. But yeah, I just think Anora was the best film of the year. And you brought up a good point that we haven't brought up before, but yeah, the voting block has expanded tremendously. It's way more diverse than it used to be, and we had this controversy. What was it, six, 7, 8 years ago? The Oscars so white,
Hmm. Yeah,
but there are so many more, not just diverse in gender, race, but a lot more foreign voters as well. And I think that
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
I think that's how a film like I'm Still Here was able to make it into this category. And
And Parasite a couple of years ago famously won. We're definitely seeing a lot more foreign films in the kind of the big above the line categories.
and deservedly so, especially in this case.
Absolutely. Yeah. There were a couple of last year that were nominated for Best Picture. It's long overdue because obviously it's not only Hollywood that's making good movies, so it's nice that we're starting to recognize others as well.
Yeah, and while, the casual movie watchers probably don't want to go out and see a subtitled movie, if you're gonna, sell yourself as, the gatekeepers of the awards and film, you have to take into account everything.
Yeah, and here's where the streaming services really need to step up. And we might be running a little late, and so I won't go on too long on this rant. But a film like I'm Still Here is one. Okay, sure, it's comes out of Brazil, probably plays a few festivals, gets picked up, has hard time getting distribution in North America. This is one where the streaming services could probably pick it up for not a lot of money and show it. And people at this point are very used to watching things on streaming services with subtitles. I mean, you think about something like Squid Game, right? Squid Game was an enormous success. That's a subtitled show that people watched and
Yeah.
were glued to for 8 episodes. So this is really where they need to step up for some of these movies like I'm Still Here, some of the other ones that came out last year, Anatomy of a Fall, things like that. These are really things that people should be able to see before the Oscars.
Zone of Interest.
Zone of Interest, absolutely. I mean, I think eventually Anatomy of a Fall and Zone of Interest made their way to Prime, but way too late.
Oh yeah. I mean, everything eventually makes its way to Prime because you can pay
Yeah,
$5.99 for it. It's like going to Blockbuster, so.
yeah, no, but I've been free on Prime
Oh,
actually.
oh, oh,
Uh,
oh.
but still way too late, like after the Oscars,
Yeah.
and that's just absurd.
Yeah. 100%. So, yeah, that's we can't wait for the ceremony in March 2nd again, hosted by Conan O'Brien, and we will give you a full recap as always. You can count on us to shit on the movies that did deserve it and, lament the ones that did deserve it and didn't win it. So,
Yeah, and hopefully there's a few funny and interesting moments here and there, and maybe no horrible moments. We don't want to see any more violence on stage, but something a little original and interesting would be good. So let's hope there's something like that.
yeah, Conan O'Brien's a funny guy.
He is.
He's not as quite as milquetoast as Jimmy Kimmel goes, but yeah, we shall see.
He's got some off the wall humor, so maybe he'll do some kind of bizarre skits that won't work for everybody, but should still be interesting. We'll see.
All right, so I guess we'll see you sometime in early to mid March. Until then,
I'm done. Happy movie
just
watching, everyone.
just chugging the last of my champagne and like and subscribe, leave a comment if you disagree with us, if you agree with us, all good. And see you next time on the Unsolicited Film Reviews podcast.
Bye, everyone.